Pop culture would have us believe that parents can't wait to have their kids leave home. But the truth is that about 2/3 of us have a hard time when our home that was buzzing with life for the last 20 years suddenly becomes way too quiet. I've been blessed with a 33-year marriage and 2 amazing boys who took me on the journey of a lifetime. It was a crazy, fun, heartbreaking, and joyous roller coaster that never stopped moving. And it all happened in the blink of an eye. My kids are still a major part of my life. They're in college now. They place a high priority on family, and we all make time to be together. But their lives are becoming increasingly independent, as they should be. The crazy energy of kids around the house that kept me outwardly focused is subsiding, and I find myself back in a familiar but uncomfortable place where I'm confronted with myself. I think we're all better off when we're more focused on service than ourselves. My mother's always been there for me, and she's still a major influence in my life. I had 3 male role models growing up: my brother, my father, and my grandfather. My brother left for college as I was entering high school, and my dad died of heart failure 2 years later. And then a few months after that, on my 16th birthday, my mom and I sat with my grandfather as he suffocated from pneumonia. My mom and I lost our home, and we were left with a mountain of bills, but we got through it together. We worked hard, made good decisions, and by the grace of God, we came back stronger than before. While the past shapes who we are, it doesn't define us. Our relationship with God defines us. Adversity makes us stronger, but adversity isn't an end. Over and over, we find that we're made stronger than we ever thought possible. So many of us journey through life seeking that elusive thing that will finally make us complete, looking to money, or sex, or power as an escape, or to serve as an absolution, when all the while the love that's all around us is pleading with us for a place in our lives. We just have to open the door. This summer, after I graduated from high school, my older brother and I came home to work. We scraped together a couple $100 and rode the 550 miles from our hometown in northern Illinois to the northern tip of Minnesota. No restaurants, no hotels or support wagons. It was the best week of my life up to that point. I remember gliding anonymously through the rolling landscapes of Wisconsin and being amazed and a little confused by the settled beauty. I'd spent time trespassing in places where people were supposed to hike and camp, but to me, there was a quiet richness to this place, and it seemed eager to sustain life. But life was still waiting for me when I returned home. Thanks to a family friend, I was fortunate to get a good-paying job in a local mine. It was dangerous and difficult work that left me with nightmares of cave-ins and being buried alive for years, but it paid the bills. When I wasn't working there, I was taking whatever work I could get my hands on while attending St. Olaf College. I'd been admitted on a number of prestigious scholarships that should have gone to someone who deserved them. For reasons I'll get into later, I didn't stand a chance academically, and I hated the place. The upshot was that I transferred to Valparaiso in northwest Indiana, where I worked as a street sweeper to make ends meet. I had a serious drinking problem by that time, and my grades were horrible. And then suddenly, things took a turn for the better. I was at a party when I first met her. I was too physically exhausted and full of beer to notice the 2 beautiful girls that walked by outside, but my friends noticed and cheerfully lifted them over their shoulders caveman style and carried them in. 6 months later, I was engaged to one of those girls, and 33 years later, we're still married. The other girl is still an old friend and one of the finest women I know, and those old buddies still keep in touch. My wife and I got married while we were still in college. She waited tables and the blisters on my hands hardened. We studied at night and eventually got our degrees. Then we traded off working while the other one went to graduate school at the University of Illinois in Champaign. It took us over 10 years, but eventually I got out of the business school with a master's and good grades, and now I like to say that I married a doctor for her money. And then, just like that, Nathan arrived with an extraordinary mind and a full head of red hair, and everything changed. I knew right away that I had found my place as a father. Before we knew it, we were blessed with a second son, Ben, and 7 nephews. Both of our boys are better people than I'll ever be, and that was my goal. They're the joy of my life. Nathan means gift of God, and Benjamin means son of my right hand. We hiked and rode all over America. Sometimes we walked in places where few people can go. And sometimes we walked at night when the world was sleeping and the air was so still that dust particles hung in the moonlight. We talked, argued, and laughed, but more than anything, we grew together in our Christian faith. It was tough when my kids left for college. As parents, what is our calling when our kids leave the house? That's the fundamental question I'm pursuing here. So here's the plan. I'm going to return to my roots and look for answers while section riding from the southern border of Wisconsin to Duluth, Minnesota. I'm going to document the ride and offer a little information about the communities I passed through. But what I'm searching for is a heading on my path. I'm searching for my calling. So, before we roll, I should briefly introduce myself. My name is Pete Gorski, but my trail name is Pi, like the number. On America's long backpacking trails, hikers give each other trail names that in some way describe who they are. Pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Now, I know for some people that just brings back painful memories of math class, and most people take math for granted without ever wondering why it's even there in the first place. But when I look at a circle, I see design. It's complex, perfectly logical, and beautiful. When I was young, my body would do pretty much whatever I told it to for as long as I wanted it to. Not so anymore. As I got older, I felt inferior to the heroes who would talk about hiking your own hike or riding your own ride, while invariably reminding you of just how far and how fast they went. I'm over that. I like to ride bikes and backpack, but I'm also 55 years old. My body's totally banged up and I ride a desk for a living. And I like ice cream and pizza. And I like to take my time when I ride and hike. I remember watching the Ironman Championships on TV years ago, and the announcer saying something about reaching beyond your limits so you could touch your soul. And I thought, what a load of crap. I get that self-imposed suffering can make us physically and mentally stronger, fine. But suffering isn't the point, and it definitely doesn't make your soul visible. When my brother and I did this ride back in 1985, we were almost broke. I literally borrowed my camping equipment from my dentist, who most definitely was not broke. Part of the reason we slept outside was because we had to. But even if we'd had the money, I'm not sure we would have stayed in hotels because so much of what we did was about reverse snobbery, and that meant doing it the hard way. I'm going to do this ride in sections, and I won't be sleeping on the ground.